Welcome to week 28, Why Invisible Dependencies Paralyze Organizations. There is a common assumption that exists in almost every organization today. If you walk into a boardroom and ask the executive team what is truly critical to their survival, the answers come back immediately. And 9 times out of 10, those answers are purely technological.
In this explainer, we're going to take a bit of an executive journey. We'll start with the inventory illusion, look at what happens when the business unexpectedly stops, define what invisible dependencies actually are, categorize them, and finally introduce the Ransom-Kick Resilience Model.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the inventory illusion, or the false comfort of asset lists. When you ask teams what keeps the organization alive, they naturally point to the things they can see, touch, and measure. They'll quickly list their ERP systems, CRM platforms, Active Directory, email servers, and their backups. And honestly, that makes total sense. Organizations have spent decades and millions of dollars getting really good at inventorying these specific components. But when a major systemic crisis hits, leaders often discover a pretty hard truth. These isolated assets aren't actually what stopped the business. Which brings us to Section 2, when the business stops, the paradox of green lights. Let's picture an incredibly common yet frustrating scenario. Imagine 2 totally different realities happening inside the exact same building. From the IT perspective, the dashboards are glowing green. The servers are available, the network is humming along, applications are running flawlessly, and employees are logging in without a hitch. Everything looks perfect. Yet, down in the business reality, value creation has completely halted. No customer orders can be approved, no products are getting shipped, and no invoices are going out. The business has stopped dead in its tracks. So we have to ask ourselves, how is that even possible? How can a business completely freeze when every single system is online and green? That brings us to Section 3, defining invisible dependencies, the missing relationships. See, the missing element causing that paralysis isn't a piece of hardware. For years, we've been great at tracking components, but we've paid almost no attention to the relationships that connect them. A business never creates value just because a server exists. It creates value because people, information, applications, and decisions are continuously interacting with one another. When just one of those relationships snaps, the business stops, even if every technical component is perfectly fine. This is exactly what we call in the Ransom-Kick Resilience Model an invisible dependency. It's a relationship essential for your business operations that has never been identified, never been documented, and never been governed. It remains completely unseen until the exact moment it breaks, and unfortunately, that moment almost always coincides with the start of a crisis. Let's ground this with a real-world example. Imagine a logistics team ready to ship products. The warehouse application is up, the printers are working, inventory is accurate, and the trucks are waiting. Yet shipments halt entirely. Why? Because the sole authorized human approver is unavailable. The software is never the point of failure. The invisible dependency was entirely human. Here's another one we see a lot in the aftermath of a ransomware attack. IT is celebrating because the technology is successfully recovered. Customer databases are restored, applications are back online, but the sales teams absolutely refuse to operate. Why? Because nobody can actually confirm whether that restored information is reliable. The technology was recovered, sure, but trust was not. The invisible dependency here was business validation. Or think about a manufacturing plant. Internal production machines are running, operators are on the floor, systems are restarted. But operations stall completely. Why? Because a seemingly secondary supplier cannot deliver one single critical component. In this case, the invisible dependency existed completely outside the organization's walls. Moving on to Section 4, categories of dependencies, uncovering the blind spots. All of those situations have one thing in common. The organizations knew their assets, but they didn't understand the relationships that allowed those assets to function. To find these relationships before they fail, we have to systematically categorize them. We look at business, human, decision, data, application, infrastructure, and supplier dependencies. These are the connections that stay invisible for years, only to become the real points of failure when things get tough. This leads us to Section 5, the Ransom-Kick Resilience Model, redefining operational resilience. Fixing this organizational blind spot at the executive level requires a massive paradigm shift. The past approach to resilience was almost entirely focused on protecting physical and digital assets, building a moat around the servers. Modern resilience, however, dictates that we have to focus on protecting the relationships between those assets. And that shift completely transforms our core disciplines. It changes how you approach a business impact analysis, how you design business continuity plans, how you organize disaster recovery plans, and how you manage crisis recovery. Because if you don't understand your invisible dependencies, determining the right priorities for any of these plans is essentially impossible. Through this lens, the Ransom-Kick Resilience Model operates on several core concepts: visible dependencies, invisible dependencies, operational breaking points, and dependency chains. Because a dependency never exists alone. It forms a chain. And that chain is a vital concept we'll be exploring in our next explainer. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Organizations do not stop because a server fails. They stop because an invisible dependency breaks the chain that creates value. Truly understanding those invisible dependencies is the crucial first step toward understanding what operational resilience really means for your business. To understand what truly enables an organization to continue creating value under pressure, I invite you to continue the conversation with us. You can explore the Ransom-Kick Resilience Model further at www.ransom-kick.com and discover Archaeonis, our operational resilience structuring and governance environment, at www.archaeonis.app. You can also visit the Archaeonis Group YouTube channel and tune in to our French podcast, Conversations Résilience Ransom-Kick, or our English podcast, Ransom-Kick Resilience Talks. I am Fabian Policides, founder of Ransom-Kick, designer of the Ransom-Kick Resilience Model, and author of the Ensuring Operational Resilience book series. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next explainer.